Welcome all of you to Nikky Lyle Creative Presents with Industry Leaders, where today I'm joined by special guest Marcroy Smith. Welcome, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really pleased to be part of what you're doing with this. I think it's really amazing what you're doing, and you said it was the final one, right? So
final one of this series, yeah.
Make it worthwhile.
I'm sure you definitely will. So would you mind telling us a bit about yourself?
Right, so in terms of business and what I did, I went to Brighton University and I studied illustration, which was shared with the graphics class. So there's a bit of kind of crossover between illustration and graphics, which I'm really interested in. From there, I had a really huge, we had access to the letterpress, screen print, photography, all of that stuff as part of our course, which was really great. And I spent a lot of my time in the screen print rooms. So in my final year, when I was doing a bit of research, I think it was towards a dissertation that I was working on, I wanted to just search online and find a place which had a big list of printmakers or illustrators that used print in their work, and it just didn't really exist. So I just thought I'd buy peopleofprint.com just on a whim and just put a big list together of people who use print in their work, and that's kind of how People of Print was spawned. Lots of other things happened before I turned it into a company. And then following on from that, sister companies were born from People of Print Limited, like pin badges, and we do lots of print events and workshops, and we have a print service. And then as a result of that, and knowing some of the people that I've met, I'm also co-director of Grafik Media, which we're trying to bring Grafik back as a magazine, I think it started in 2003, and the final issue was in November 2011, and it went all online. We're looking at bringing it back into a printed format, which will be really great. So yeah, just quite busy with a lot of different things really at the moment.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you've got all these great subsidiary businesses and collaborations, especially Grafik. I can't wait to see that be brought back. I think that's quite interesting because maybe was that after the last recession, then that kind of dissolved, and then you got involved with Will from Protein to...
Yeah, so from my understanding, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened with all of the finances because I wasn't part of the team back then, but just from my understanding of how the model worked, it was bi-monthly, so there's a lot of publications going out, a lot of work. Making editorial content like that is quite expensive, using really expensive papers. I think they got quite big investment and went down the kind of distribution route. And then having, expensive products going down in WH Smith that just, if they're not sold, they just get pulped. They just basically rip the covers off and pulp them and then get their money back kind of thing. And so I'm not exactly as to why it dissolved as a company, but it didn't, Grafik Magazine didn't exist as a company. It got the IP of Grafik and the brand, I suppose, got bought by Will from Protein, and it's been powered by Protein online since 2014. And then we featured Grafik in Print Isn't Dead issue 3, element 3. So we had a 6-page spread. I've always loved Grafik. I've subscribed to it when I was at university. Amazing magazine, amazing content. And it's really sad that it just didn't exist in a printed format anymore, because that's how it started, and that's how it built its audience. It's kind of the reverse way now. Now people will make an Instagram account, a Facebook account, build an audience, and then create a product using the online audience to sell it to. Whereas Grafik was quite the reverse, I felt. It was like Grafik was the magazine that people then followed online, and it's got a huge audience. Millions of people around the globe. We've got like over 500,000 followers on Facebook, which we all know is that's changed its algorithm and doesn't really show your content to a lot of people like it used to. But yeah, we've got some great things in the pipeline, great collaborations, working with some amazing people. We've confirmed Eike Koenig from Germany, who runs Sport, to design issue. Well, it's actually going to be issue 194, I think it is. 193 was the final issue. So we're going to be like, the relaunch issue 194, keep it all as Grafik. We've been researching all of the old content from, I've been buying in all of the old issues, going through, looking at kind of how they structured their articles, what they were featuring, but taking a new look on that, but trying to keep with the same ethos that Grafik has always had. But in that process, we have to make money to be able to do that and keep it running and grow our audience. Because they didn't even have an Instagram account. We started an Instagram account. I think we're heading up to 75,000 followers now in a relatively short space of time. So I have a lot of faith in Grafik. I believe that Will and I and the team that we're building editorially can do a really, really great job with relaunch, not only as a magazine, but as a kind of a community for the design world, whereby people can benefit in multitude of different ways, not from just receiving a magazine. We're going to do a lot of stuff more online now, which is obviously where a lot of things are moving as well in the design world. So yeah, very excited about the Grafik stuff. Very cool. A lot of hard work. I'm not taking 1 penny salary from it at all. All of the money is going into a kitty, which is being saved up to pay for a small team of people, starting with the editors. We're going to rebuild the website so we have editorial content, and then we're going to do an actual magazine launch campaign once we've got content in, spreads made, digital renders, and then we will, have like a plan where it will be biannual, subscription based, predominantly biannual magazine, 256 pages of just amazing content. So hopefully people get behind it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I can't wait to see it once it's relaunched again. I'll be subscribing for sure. So I want to go back to the initial how you set up People of Print, because I think that's quite an inspiring story. It wasn't like you just set it up and were given a pot of money. You really started that from the ground up.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that I've never been supported by my family. My family have never really had the money to kind of go, here's like an ISO or a fund or whatever. So I worked as a kitchen porter KP when I was at university, peeling potatoes for the Sunday roasts. I've done like really kind of laborious work, just like lifting sheet steel, putting it on a machine. I was sorting mail, all of that stuff, just to kind of, I've always had to kind of pay my way for anything like that. But my family have always been very supportive with what I do. Obviously, I don't want to be saying that they never supported me, but they made me like achieve it myself. If that made any sense. And again, I was very lucky. I was at university and I started getting commissions in from bands, record labels, different magazines, through kind of word of mouth in a way. I don't even know how they found Crystal Castles. I did a project with. They found my website. I don't know how they found it. I think they just liked the picture and they said, "Can we use this as our record sleeve?" And I was like, "Okay, yep, amazing. As long as you credit me." And I was like, I didn't even get paid for the first one. And I was just like, "Hey, I have a record," And then Brighton University, the tutors that we had, and some of the amazing people that we've had come through in professional practice lectures and stuff, teaching us how to like work, I suppose, professionally on a business level. Working with license fees, to what extent is the artwork going to be used, and all of this. So when they asked for it to be, I think it was the 7-inch they used it on first, which was the Crime Wave edition. Then they wanted to use it on the 12-inch. So then my question was, how many are you printing? What's the extent of the run, basically? And then I licensed it out for £400. And to me, I was like, great, I'm a second-year student and I'm doing this. I did lots of band posters and T-shirts and lots of screen printed stuff. And I guess, what was the question? The question was kind of like how it started in a way.
Yeah, well, this is like one of my favorite parts of the story, is that you literally started this yourself from scratch and built it up, and just like how you made it happen.
Yeah, so I was a freelance illustrator essentially, but I had People of Print in the background. So People of Print to me was essentially just a list of people, but it was public. I made the website and anyone could, people wanted to be on People of Print because they were a screen printer, or they did printmaking, or they did graphic design and had a zine or a book or something. And I had my address on it because back in the day, do you remember the old websites? I'm talking 2007, yeah, 2008, and it's like HTML and the writing's blue, that kind
Yeah,
of thing, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And it's like everyone would have their website with their work on, and then they would have links, and the links page would be just their friends and people that they like the work of. I suppose People of Print was a links page. That's how it started. It was, and that's kind of how the website kind of functioned back then. People would share the work of other people, and that's kind of like surfing the web, wasn't it? You would go to a website, you would be like, oh, this person likes all these people, then you would click on their links, and you're just kind of browsing through this kind of network of cool pages. Um, Things started to change a lot when obviously Facebook came about, because people would be surfing or just looking on, surfing the web. I hate that term. But people would be looking in one place and then be directed out from that place to a website, to an article, to a thing. And I remember the day when I had more followers than Coca-Cola, for instance, because no one was bothered about Coca-Cola. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who would follow Coca-Cola? But obviously, when they started introducing, they monetized it, and then they did the algorithm. They completely changed it all. Um, it it did have an impact. Like for instance, we had 90,000 followers on Instagram when it was all chronological. So at some point, pretty much, if they're online, someone would see your post in their feed. And now we have 202,000 followers, and it shows it to roughly around 10% of those people. So around 20,000 people you'll see, unless we pay to have a further reach, or somehow it gets shared more. So sometimes just they take off. I have no idea. Some posts just get absolutely taken off without any paid engagement. I'm sure everybody's aware of that and can see how that's happened. But yeah, so basically, essentially started with nothing. Had People of Print in the background. I actually went to Bristol straight after university. I started playing ice hockey, and I was working in a call center. I was doing illustration work for skateboard designs. I did Heroin Skateboard Blackout series. I did a lot of little idents for Bella Union. I did the Bella Union Records logo and stuff, Fleet Foxes and things like that, all through Universal and other. Well, not that wasn't all through Universal. That was through Bella Union. But yeah, lots of different kind of illustration work, and it was very much hand to mouth, and late invoices. Oh, your invoice needs this particular thing added to it. 3 months later, I've already have to send the invoice, so it's 6 months late. And it's one of those things where I was like borrowing money from friends to pay for rent and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, one of the things I was extremely lucky with is I took, well, Crystal, I think I told you about this, and Crystal Castles actually used my work outside of the license agreement, and they printed T-shirts for it at Reading Festival and sold thousands of them. So I actually went down the legal route with them, and they ended up buying not threatening to sue, but it would have been a hefty chunk. But they ended up buying the copyright of the image, so they actually own that image now, and they can do what they want with it. But that is what gave me the funds to be able to. I did an internship in New York with an amazing company called Post Exposed. They no longer exist. The one guy's moved on to work at Pentagram, and the lady is a full-time parent. But they were the best years of my life, and it was an unpaid internship. I paid for all my flights, all my accommodation. I was out there for 3 months, and I met the most amazing people. I met people like Killer Acid. I met people like K-Rock. I met all of this just incredible group of people that are working in print and design, and the culture out there is just amazing for print. And that kind of inspired me upon my return to be like, right, let's do something more with People of Print rather than my own work. Let me talk about other people. And I'm not a writer in it by any means. I can waffle on and talk about things, but I'm not a professional writer. But I would document my visits to different people's studios. I would come back to England, and I would say, hey, Stu from Love and Skate, can I come into your studio, take some photos and feature that? And I suppose that's very similar to what you're doing, is showcasing the work of other people. It's not about you directly in your work,
No.
It, and that's kind of how it kind of grew, I suppose, is by creating a community.
And that's, I think, where we're a bit similar. It's that kind of love the community. And every time I run one of these talks, I want to speak to that person. It's
Yeah,
almost like I have things that I want to find out. And I guess that whole like interesting people are interested, and people want to communicate with people or organizations or brands that have built communities, and you go within that hub and there's a kind of kudos of like, if you select someone for people of print, there's a reason you selected them, and then you're like showing off their work and they're getting discovered and they're sharing it. And then, I mean, how did you grow your followers at People of Print to start with?
it was absolutely crazy. I'll be honest with you, I had no business plan. I had no intention of turning it into a limited company. It was just I got advised to do so because of the turnover and whatever, and what was actually happening, and the fact that um, when you create a limited company, it's a separate legal entity from yourself. So if anything were to go wrong, it would be the company's liability rather than myself, and making myself bankrupt and things like that, which has never been a problem, but it's wise to do that. So yeah, it was through a bit of advice. I've had really good mentorship through a guy called Ian Leggett, who was the accountant for Felix Dennis, who made Dennis Publishing. So I think it was Big Issue, Viz magazine, all of the old computer magazines. Yeah, Dennis Publishing was quite a big company, and Felix Dennis was a multi-millionaire. Kind of, yeah, you should look him up. He's kind of a bit of a. Yeah, check out Oz magazine. The old, I think it's the 60s, 70s style. And there was a person who actually we featured in issue 2 of our magazine. He's a collector of Oz magazine. So we went to his house and took all the photographs of all of his collection of all these old 70s things, and they're just beautifully printed in spot litho colors, and that kind of has a bit of an influence in what we do with postazine, printing in spot colors rather than just full color CMYK or digitally printing it. So we kind of print our postazines as if it were made in the 60s, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So how's the past year been for you? And
past year, it's been interesting. We, like I say, okay, I just did a little bit of a breakdown of the company. So we've got People of Print, the overarching company. We offer print events, print service, print consultation. People come to us for advice or whatever. We can help them through different things. We've worked with Levi's in store, printing live onto t-shirts. We can source materials for people. We can, equipment, anything like that through People of Print. That then branched off into publishing through, we actually did a book with Thames and Hudson, which, they are a big publishing house. I didn't have the funds to create the book up front. And I don't think Kickstarter was really kind of knocking about at that point to the level that it is now. So I reached out to the publishing route where you get an advance, you make the book, they get it printed in China, they make all the profit off it, and you've got to pay your advance back from the royalties. And I just felt a little bit robbed. So actually, we've sold thousands of these books. They actually went into the second run. So People of Print book for Thames and Hudson, it's great because it's in Waterstones. It went to Frankfurt Book Fair, did all of this. We were like, they used all of our identity for their kind of main book fair displays. And I can't say that it hasn't been a good thing, because it has been good. However, financially, I haven't seen a penny other than the £5,000, which was split between 2 people, me and Andy Cook, who made it together. And it took us about a year and a bit to make. So less than minimum wage, it's a lot of hard work. So there are pros and cons, with working with a kind of, what do I call, a traditional publishing model, which then led us on to print our own magazine. So we actually went through Kickstarter for the first 2 issues. I'm going to show you. I don't know if anyone in the room can see this.
Amazing.
But yeah, they're still printed in spot colors. So we've got kind of fluorescence in there. The first issue was actually designed by me and Cody Lee. It was all in-house. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's the best design, because it's our first ever go at doing it, but we were like, hey, let's just do it, and it worked out great. We sold out really quickly, and then we moved. We were very ambitious by saying we would do it quarterly, because every 3 months comes around very quickly. You've got the printing times, you've got this proofing times, you've got to get all the content in, and you don't realize, working with designers, a lot of people are very design savvy, but there are a lot of designers out there that will send files that aren't suitable, or not even in CMYK, or not even at the right resolution. So you have to be. We learned by the third issue basically, like how to get it to work, and we got great sponsorship by Hewlett Packard. And that then led into Postazine. So, and like as I mentioned in a previous talk with you, Postazine spawned out of the fact we didn't have enough space in the magazine that was already printed for an interview for ICA. So we created a supplement, and that supplement goes a little bit like this. I don't know if we've got an ICA one, have we? Kels, you got enough? I think we do have issue 1, but essentially it folds down to A4. It has a front cover, and then it has an interview. It has an introduction with them, with a little bit of kind of an insight as to who they are, what they do, their illustration, or whatever. Folds out into the main interview, and then folds out into a massive A1 print of the front cover. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, no, I can. Wow.
It's massive, and it's, we work with Spot Colors. We work with, we're sponsored by GF Smith, and we're sponsored by Precision, who have been an absolutely massive help. So one piece of advice, I suppose, is that kind of, there's, it's collaboration in a way, collaboration and partnerships, and they have really, really helped us to be able to create, for instance, an A1 double, spot color print would normally sell it for around £25. But because it's actually classed as a magazine, we've got our own ISSN number, which has a barcode there, look, you see, so it's registered with the British Library. We can't sell that for £25. Do you understand what I mean? It's kind of a crazy thing. It's like you can have the exact same print from the exact same screen. You print it on a T-shirt, but you can only sell it for 20 or 30 quid. But you put it on a nice piece of paper and you can sell it for 150 or more.
Yeah.
There's a very, very weird concept with that. This is the first issue, by the way. Spot. I was like, let's make it really bright. Neon. I don't know if you can see the neons. But yeah, this was the interview that we couldn't fit in. But I was like, Ika, can you send us over up to 400 words? I was like, I'm getting it sorted. And yeah, he sent over this amazing interview by Liv Siddal, who used to work for It's Nice That. And we were like, right, we've got to do something with this. And because he was like, oh, don't include me in this issue then if you can't fit the interview in. So we were like, no, we'll do a supplement. So it cost me extra, but that's how Postazine was spawned. It was kind of like an accident. And this was actually a follow-up from a university project that I did. So I actually made these to showcase my work to send out to people in order to get a job. But I never got a job. It's kind of crazy. So it's, it's like how ideas morph into each other using kind of, I suppose, creativity and logic at the same time, trying to be a little bit business savvy with the financial side of it. I always have a phrase, which is like, if you're saving money, you're making money. So if you're getting a discount, you're essentially saving money if you're going to be selling the copies. And from that, we were like, okay, well, where are we going to sell it? We need somewhere to sell it. So we were like, we made a shop, and then that shop turned into a marketplace where we would sell other people's stuff on there as well. And then since then, that's grown into its own thing, which has been a huge, huge battle, because we started off just on a simple store. And that's one of the things that I suppose with entrepreneurs is I could have just at that point just kind of gone, oh, well, stop this, I'm not bothering, it's too much work, it's hard. Or you stick with it and be persistent and make it work. And we've stuck with it. I've literally thrown money at it, like left, right, and centre. I could have bought a house for, what I've invested in department store. And I'm very happy to always invest money back into my company for the greater good of the print community. So then we have the store. And then on the store we were selling pin badges that we were making, and then pin badges became its own separate company because that was doing really well. So we separated it, and that's become its own thing with its own manager. Yeah. So it's about kind of a mixture between trying to make something that is meaningful for the community, something that is viable and profitable, or supported by sponsorships or whichever kind of partnerships you can get. Essentially, if you don't have the cash flow, you can't make anything happen.
Yeah.
So you either need to, you either have to be business savvy with it and make a profit. But I think there's a difference between being kind of like a really brutally profit-driven company and then a kind of community-orientated company that is the profits are used to benefit the company and thrown back in and redevelop things that aren't working on a site, or do something, or introduce a grant, which we've introduced 2 different grants and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just very organic growth. And like I said, I've never written a business plan, never.
And you've just kind of gone with it, and it seems that there's been like offshoots and things have snowballed, and I'm exactly the same. Like the minute some money's made somewhere there, I'm like, okay, what can I invest that's going to do something for the community or support it in some way? And that's, for me, it's purpose driven first. It's a supply to a demand, and then you think, okay, how can I monetize this to then develop it further or to put it into something else?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
being driven by.
There's been chances where I could have just literally made like millions of pounds and kind of sold out a little bit, But for instance, with the department store, we could have opened it up to anybody could sign up, and then it would be like Etsy, and we would just get loads and loads, it would be like that, and I would have made tons of money, but it wouldn't be curated. And I kind of, I'm kind of against Etsy in a way because there's so much plagiarism on there. For instance, Anthony Burrell put up a picture once of how many posters there are on Etsy saying "work hard and be nice to people" that aren't his.
Yeah.
And I cannot allow that to happen as a designer. For instance, we had one person who it got brought to our attention that they were plagiarizing multiple artists. So it wasn't just one artist. There was like various different styles, and they're plagiarizing them all. And we just instantly just took them off the site and was just like, we don't allow that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's great. There has to be curation, there has to be management as well, and you really appreciate that being an illustrator yourself as well, and knowing
absolutely
that
there's nothing worse than it, and also it's kind of funny how I've had the other side of it as well, where things are coincidental, where some people have thought of the same idea but just from a different corner of the world. And then you get accused of plagiarism when in fact you've got notes in your book from 3 years ago that you actually, for instance, department store, the name department store. I always like to call things what they are, so Pin Badges Limited. They're pin badges. We own Pin Badges Limited, and the website is called Pin Badges, and that's what it is. Department store. What is it? The reason why I called it department store is because I wanted multiple sellers to be on there. And I was thinking of the case of like kiosks in Selfridges, and Selfridges is a department store, so I called it department store. But there was an artist in London that had set up a physical shop called department store, and we were accused of plagiarism there. But that isn't plagiarism, if you know what I mean. It came through our own channels and our own thoughts of that. And then there's been multiple examples of things where other people have coincidentally done a very, very similar thing to somebody else, and then they've complained to us saying this is exactly like this person's work, and it is up to my discretion to then say, well, look, it isn't quite the same, and I can't accuse this person of plagiarism. But when it is literally blatantly plagiarized, I'll just take them off the store. And you can tell the difference when it is blatantly plagiarized.
So tell us a bit about like pin badges, because I was saying to you earlier, I'd love to do an industry leaders pin badge at one point. I know.
Yeah, we'd love to help you with it. So basically,
you can show us.
Yeah, I've got loads here actually. Let's have a little look. I've got a board here, and we've got thousands of them, but we've worked with some amazing clients. So here we go. There's some here that we've got. This is just a small board that we have behind us.
How do you get all your clients, Marcroy? Because you've got such impressive partnerships as well with some big brands and businesses people would like die to work with. Do they come to you? Do you go to them?
Okay, so the Nike thing that we've got, which is a Black Lives Matter set of pins which are coming out,
Yeah.
that actually came from a sports person. She is a runner who is sponsored by Nike or works with Nike. Obviously, just I think saw it online, got in touch, and again, you know, we are the most affordable and quickest turnaround in the UK, and we pride ourselves on that. So we've just basically made ourselves quicker and better than any other company that's in the UK. So they come to us, and if any, we've had out of like about 1,000 different orders, we've had like one or two where they've had discrepancies with maybe the color wasn't quite right, and we'll just do it again for them.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of, I suppose, kind of like how Apple work with their customer service. With pin badges, we try and do that. We are a very small team, so sometimes it's hard to like answer every single email immediately or whatever. But we, you know, if you look at our Google reviews on pin badges, everyone's just super chuffed with how we deal with it, and that's down to Kelsey. Say hello, Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey.
I'll show you her. She's
hello.
Yeah, she's getting those emails answered and getting them done. But yeah, so pin badges actually started with this pin here. Okay, so all it was Print Isn't Dead magazine, and it started with this pin, which is basically the Print Isn't Dead lockup. So it's made with, I think it's made with Swiss typefaces, who sponsored us for the first issue or second issue of our mag. I made the lockup myself, and I just thought, you know what, that'll make a nice sticker, that'll make a nice pin. And I think I got 500 pins made. I actually got them made with a competitor company in the UK back in the day, and it must have just resonated with people. You know, obviously, Print Isn't Dead covers so many grounds. You know, printmaking, illustration, graphic design, publishing, all of that kind of overarching kind of creative kind of field, but also, you know, I've had people that are journalists that are like buying these pins, people that are authors and writers and all that kind of stuff. So, and we sold out, and we're like, shit, let's get another batch in, and you know, and it really took off from there. And then I was like, well, do you know what? We can make these for people too. So let's just offer a service where we make them for people. We started selling. We on department store we had one collection which just sold. I think we had about 15 or 20 different people that we'd selected their pins that we liked. And then people would just come to us from then onwards, and they were just very much word of mouth. I think at the moment, we put Facebook ads on. We put on, I think it's like $5 a day for the whole month, just saying we can make pins for you. I mean, it'll be worthwhile looking into the insights to see how many it reaches, but it's just constantly there, isn't it, reminding people that we can offer that service. And Facebook ads, well, I say Instagram ads, which is through Facebook ads, have been really, really useful. But also sometimes it can feel like you're peeing in the wind with it. You know, if you're not using the right kind, you're not attacking the right demographic, your product's too expensive, the photographs of your product aren't very good. And I suppose over time, we've learned what is good and what sells. You know, we've got like 400 sellers on our department store, and we can see all the statistics of sales, and we can see what sells and what doesn't sell. And if you look at it, it is basically things that are photographed really well, the description is really good, and people have taken time to make their page look good, their product look good, and at a very reasonable price considering it's going to be mail ordered. If you're going to be spending £350 on a print, you're going to want to know that's good quality, don't you? You want to, you know, close-up pictures of the paper, the fact that how it's made, what paper it is on. So, you know, for instance, Ike Koenig, again, he's an excellent designer. He sells his prints for €299, and I've got 2 or 3 of his prints. and they're absolutely amazing. You know, like they come through really, really well packaged, and they're small runs signed, and um, I don't know. It's a very weird thing how you can pay a lot of money for a bit of ink on some paper, but it's how you make that value, I suppose, to people. Why do people buy something that is rare? What makes somebody? It's almost like a weird phenomenon, isn't it? It's like there's only 50 of them ever made. I've got one of those 50, and
Yeah.
I like it.
I think it's the devil's in the detail. People like to spend their money on things that is of value and gives them an experience. It's like that's why Apple have done so well. You go every single touch point of the brand, even when you keep the box from the phone, it's like, why are you keeping that box? You don't need to keep it. But
Yeah.
like the big reveal, how it slides off, you're like, oh, and just everything
Oh,
about
they put
it,
that
the
down to it.
consideration. I say this to designers all the time, or like illustrators when they're looking for work. I was like, if you just put in an extra 20% of effort with your approach, then you're going to outwork 80% of other people that can't take that little bit more time. And
Yeah.
it really pays off because you're saying you're providing a premium product or service,
Yeah.
just that more
So
effort.
let me go back to what I was saying before about not making a business plan. Okay, so for me, a business plan is like an outdated way of doing things. It's, you know, let's do a 5-year business plan with projections of this and that, and often the numbers are all whacked up to make it sound like you're going to be a millionaire in 5 years and whatever. I'm not saying that I haven't taken time to be really considerate about what we're going to do and make a plan of attack. And I think a plan of attack based off something that's already kind of working is the way that we do it. And that's what I mean by it is organically growing. You know, for instance, the list of people on the site, then people contacted me, can I be on the site? So then we would charge people £30 to be on the site. And, you know, and that's how we could monetize it, make money to keep it running. And I think that's a very fair fee to be added to the directory. And then we had people sending us their prints. And then we're like, well, we can't just keep the prints at my house in Bristol. When I was living in Bristol, we need to do an exhibition. So I actually lost money in doing the exhibition, but through doing the exhibition, we met loads of people from London who came over and things. And it's I've met a lot of people at going to talks and things like that. You know, going to events when we could go to them, and things like this, like what you're doing now. You know, anybody's welcome to contact me through from my email. I'm sure we'll give it out at the end or whatever, or just through people at friend. We're really happy to kind of just chat and meet new people and hear about their projects and try and see if we can integrate that with what we're doing. I mean, we've done a lot of really cool collaborations with brands and individuals. We've just done a range of pins by Ben Normanson, who used to be the graphic designer for Drop Dead Clothing in Carnaby Street, which is, I don't know if you know about Drop Dead Clothing, but
Yeah, I've definitely heard of them.
it was on Carnaby Street, and it's run by Ollie Sykes, who's the lead singer of like used to be kind of like a death metal screamo band, and now they've gone a bit more mainstream, but millions of followers. But yeah, it's, you know, we've been working with lots of amazing people, like you say, a mixture of people reaching out to us, a mixture of us reaching out to people. So, for an example, for us, like we really want to work with Pantone because every single issue that we do, we use Pantone spot colors, and I think we're a perfect collaboration. So, you know, I've reached out to those guys, and we're starting a conversation about working together on something. But also, it's a case of just being. I don't always put all of my eggs in one basket. So, in terms of on a business level, I was always taught that you should always have around 7 revenue streams to kind of have a really safe kind of infrastructure. And each of those revenue streams should always kind of benefit each other somehow. So, for instance, our products are sold on our shop, and on our shop, we have other people that are on it, which creates a revenue stream. And then we have members, we have a directory, we have the print events. So I think we actually have about 13 revenue streams that come in from different aspects. And that creates a safety net, because as soon as COVID hit, we lost £175,000 of contracts in one day. Bang, gone. And I was like, shit, we're gonna have to liquidate the company. But then because we'd had other aspects of the company which we're able to leverage in a different way and adapt and move, like that's what saved us. Otherwise we really would have gone under.
Yeah, well, this is it. Like, I think one thing I read the other day was going back to Steve Jobs and Apple, him saying you connect the dots, but you can only connect the dots at the end. So you put all this great stuff out into the world like you've done, and you're just like, let's try this, and then you're like, but this all connects in some way, and it all supports each other under one big.
I call it an ecosystem. The way that I've set the company up is that every part of the company benefits the company in some other way.
Yeah.
So, say for instance, through our subscriptions, we can add value to our processing subscriptions by giving people free pin badges, and then that promotes pin badges in the same process. And we've made, what have we done? We've got bone folders. Oh, so there's one. Yeah, we've got these bone folders here. So we have these like made of natural bone, and this actually came through the fact that the postazine has folds in it, and the bone folder is made of natural bone and doesn't leave any residue when you're making creases or removing creases. It's actually a traditional tool for bookmaking, bookbinding. So we've made like the official print isn't dead bone folder, laser engraved downstairs. So we've got a company downstairs and they laser engrave it for us. We print all of the packaging ourselves and we ship it all out from the studio. And we've sold hundreds of these, so it's again, I don't know if it's the brand or it's about the fact that it's also relevant. We're also working on some other cool projects. We're working on, I don't know if I should say, we're doing print orientated goods, like creating a range of print orientated things. So like turning Print Isn't Dead into more of a brand that in its field. So potentially working with Blackwing pencils for editioning your prints. We're doing stuff for mixing inks, maybe making our own set of inks, working with aprons, working with postal bags, working with tool bags. We're making what Kelsey's, she did fashion at university, so they'll all be like hand sewn by her. We're a cottage industry, really. We're a small company, but we do a lot of different things, and I suppose just we enjoy what we do.
But I think that's it. Like you're so innovative. You're always thinking of different things you can do, different ways you can. But I just love your passion. I think that's what it is. Like you love print and the print world, and that's what you do. And everyone that loves print is drawn to you and your brand and your company, and you're giving people what they want all the time.
Yeah.
So they're going to support it as well.
Oh yeah, you should see all of the books that I've got. Like I love to support independent publications. We get sent a lot of stuff anyway to the company, but if I see something that has come out and it just takes my fancy, I'll buy it straight away and support the independent kind of publishing model. There was a girl that was at a Stack magazine's talk, and her magazine was about mental health, and I have a great affinity with that. My mother's been mentally ill since I was about 15. And I really care about being open and talking about it. So she didn't have enough money to print the issue, so I just gave her the money to print it. I was just like, here you go, print your Reso magazine. So I'm happy to just kind of support where I can with that kind of thing. And I just love with print, I love the idea that with self-publishing, it's like you have total freedom, whereas the traditional publishing model and other things like that, you do get whittled down. I can't put anything explicit in something that's going to be in a Thames and Hudson book.
Yeah, of course.
Really, so we've got, for instance, issue 5 of Postazine, Eric Kessel's. We've just got loads of pictures of men's dicks just measured against things, and it's just that's his work that we're featuring it, but we would never have been able to put that in Thames and Hudson book. They worry about the sales of it and the fact that it goes on Amazon and blah blah blah, and they're very profit and only profit driven, and that is not how we function.
No. Well, I'm gonna have to go to the questions. I could talk to you for ages. Actually, I'm always thinking of different things, but I'll let other people ask you some questions. But
Cool.
okay, right. So to add, Pedro said to add on the plagiarism point, it's weird because people are quick to say, "Oh, this guy did this way before, so you can steal their idea," but it's like saying that nobody else can ever think of that idea ever again.
Yeah. So my view on this, right, is the internet has changed this a lot, and data. So let's just say, for instance, Instagram, Pinterest, people making pin boards, like these kind of, the way in which people do their research now is very different from how I did it when I was at university. Because back in the day, I would have to like look for people's websites, and we would actually go to people's websites. You know, people don't do that anymore so much. We go to their Instagram page,
Yeah.
and we can pin things based on things that are categorized and tagged and fed to us based off trends. So we can literally type, you know, I think there is even a website called Trend Board or Trend something or other, Grafik Trends, I don't know. And it tells you, it's got like a little graph of like what was popular at a specific time. And it's very crazy how everything like that has kind of a knock-on effect into, I mean, look at like a big agency, right? They're not going to go and put like an old David Carson, an old version of a David Carson thing on a new thing that's happening, because they want to stay current and relevant. Whereas David Carson is changing his work and being more current and relevant now. I actually met him in Amsterdam and talking through the things that he's doing. He's not like collage work with his typography, and I love him. I think he's a great guy. But people will just, agencies will just look on Instagram and just go through it, and there are so many people that are imitating or doing work that's so similar to other people's work, and that could just be a symptom, or like a problem, I suppose, of the way in which people are doing their research now. It's almost as if they're being told what is cool, they're being told what to do and how to do. I don't know, like, so there is naturally, at the moment, there's naturally so much work that looks so similar, especially in the design world and illustration world. Have a look, and if you look through, like, you know, obviously places like the AOI, Association of Illustrators, you've got different design agencies and illustration agencies. If you look through their portfolios through the years and the books that they would send out, you'll see a natural shift and change in it anyway, and it's almost as if it's, you know, but on the point of it being very similar, so say for instance, we had an issue with I can't remember the name of the guy, but apparently he did this piece of artwork that says "Never look directly at the sun," and the sun was the Sun newspaper.
Yeah.
Right? Never look directly at the sun. Then we've got a print by Harriet Richardson, who said "Never look like directly at the sun." She's obviously thought of the same pun herself. It was totally coincidental, and it looks different. Yet he proposed that it was plagiarized. So in my head, I was like, right, I will inform. You know, I can't say whether it's been plagiarized or not. I will inform Harriet. Spoke to her, and she was like, just to save any issues, just take it down from the site, 'cause it was actually on the Grafik site as a sale for, you know, as a print for sale. So yeah, it's a very tricky subject. I've actually got a book here about intellectual property law. You know, I'm very savvy legally because I got threatened to be sued by Playboy for £30,000, and I fought the case myself against Playboy, and I won.
Why were they trying to sue you?
Because we featured the front cover of Kate Moss for their 50th anniversary issue of Playboy, and it was by Mert and Marcus, the photographers. So we featured it from Mert and Marcus. They said we leaked the images by going into the Playboy back end. We leaked the images into the public, when in fact I went to the Mert and Marcus website and we put it on our site, which was specifically used for research and educational purposes. We didn't even have any ads on our site or anything like that. And they were accusing us of hindering their sales of their magazine when the magazine had sold out. So I used all this against them. I was like, how did we hinder your sales? Because you sold out of the magazine, and in fact, if you want to find out who leaked it, go to the Merton Marcus website, because that's where it is published. And then I went to the Merton Marcus website, and then it had watermarks all over it now, because they've obviously been in trouble
with them for it. Yeah. Well, this
is I won that kind of legal battle there, but it's crazy, because there's a weird, there's, I think it's called the Copyright Act 1998. And then there was another clause added into it, and that's since websites like Tumblr, Instagram, blah, 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 people share each other's work in a different manner now.
Yeah.
They share it in a different way. And it's very, very difficult to, for instance, we share people's work because we want to grow the community, and everyone always says, thank you for sharing the work. We've had somebody come to us and say, take it down. Why are you using our image? All you're doing is growing your platform. It's like, well, we're growing the platform for the greater good of the design community. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah,
plagiarism is a very deep and long subject. And I think that you definitely know if it has been directly plagiarized. You just know.
Well, like the phrase "don't look directly at the sun" or whatever. That's just a phrase. It's not like a
yeah. But then you get people like Johnny Banger, Sports Banger, does the upside down Reebok logo, claims himself as a bootlegger. Absolutely love the guy. Doesn't, at the start of his company, didn't deliver any of his t-shirts out for like 4 months. People would be like, "Where's my thing?" And he would screen grab their thing and be like, "Oh, now you think of it." And then he would say stuff like, "Think of waiting for like a custom Porsche, this, and it is, he just hadn't done it yet or whatever, But look how much he's done for himself, He's absolutely. I love Sports Banger and what they've done, what they've created. We did the Nike NHS issue, and then that, so then that is a blatant copyright issue. That's not plagiarism. That's a copyright issue. And he dealt with the lawyers, and then all of the money that he made from it, he donated into the local area to food banks during the crisis and all of this kind of stuff. So it couldn't have been used for a commercial basis. It was actually, it's almost like a form of anarchy or whatever it is, or rebellion against the system for the greater good of people. And I think what he's done is an amazing thing. But I just don't like someone just copying someone straight off, you know what I mean? Like, bang, there's my version of it, there's the other, maybe change the colour slightly.
Well, that's just ripping someone else's work off, isn't it? And trying to pass it off as your own. And like, that's always a big issue. Whenever I'm advising people and they put together their portfolios, it's like, always be crystal clear what your involvement was on a project as well. Rather than, was this solely like your idea from concept to completion? Who else was involved?
Yeah. I mean, we've been accused of plagiarism for a set of Riso pins that we did, which was actually made by an illustrator in Seattle, Washington, called Jordan. And they were already in the process of being made. And what we wanted to do was create a set of pins for our site that are all like Riso characters, screen print characters, and have this whole set of print orientated pins, because we're a print orientated company. And he was just like, we reached out to him, and he was like, no, I want, he wants to sell them himself or whatever. I don't even know what he said. But then he accused us of like copying his idea of creating like a Riso printer as a character. But, we've got more of that. I mean, look at Doppelpress, look at Risotto. They've all got like a little Riso character.
Yeah.
We're starting up another website called Riso Club, Riso.club with Doppelpress, and we're commissioning someone maybe like Gyro Bevis to do like a little Riso character. I've commissioned Jim Stoughton, the illustrator, to do a Heidelberg press, an Albion press, a Litho press, as characters. That's not plagiarism. That's briefing an artist and letting them do their own thing,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's a tricky subject. It's not very nice when you're accused of it, and you have to kind of defend it, because if there are similarities, it's hard to get away from that, isn't it? There are similarities. Some of these things are coincidental, like the colours that we use to CMYK, which are the print colours.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. It's a tricky subject. I would just advise anybody to I don't know, just do your own work. And if you know that it isn't, if you know that you're not copying someone, then you're all right, aren't you? Because you know that you haven't done it. But I suppose there's a case of researching as well and trying to make something not the same. But it's just such a big world. There's so much design out there at the moment. There's like you, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to it. Like, just don't do it. Just don't do it directly. Do your own work, and if it is coincidental, it is coincidental, and you can always negotiate with the other person who has a problem and not make it an issue.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. So my last question for you is, what future projects should we look out for? What exciting things immediately? Because you've got so much going on, right? This is like...
Yeah. Okay. So Grafik is going to be, I put a lot of effort into Grafik. We've got another staff member now in Grafik. Yeah. He's doing really well. We've got some amazing things coming out. We've just launched a pair of socks.
Okay, nice.
A pair of Grafik socks. Yeah, go to grafik.net. grafik.net. Grafik, like Grafik magazine. So we've got Grafik editions, which is going to be ongoing. We're going to be adding loads of new people, doing interviews with them. If you want to submit your artwork to be potentially featured on there, we have a fair deal where you either go 50-50 on the profits, or you can give us 75% or a full donation if you want it to go to there. But we always offer the 50-50 option as well. And then we're going to be bringing out lots of new products. A huge amount of new products that we're looking at that are all going to be relevant to the print community and the design community. We've got some pretty interesting collaborations coming up. Like I said, we've got the night things coming out. The latest issues that are quite late, they're late out actually because of Christmas and COVID and whatever. But the Ed Templeton issue is out. We've also worked with Casey Cowell, who's absolutely incredible. Love this work here. So these are the latest 2 issues that have just come out. We've got a big list of people for Posterzine sorted, including Richard Kern, quite a controversial character in the photography world, I suppose. We haven't really featured many photographers, but we've got in Perpetuum Publishing, we've got 5 projects lined up for that. So if anyone has an idea for a book or magazine or a zine, we can help you through that whole process. All of these links are on peopleofprint.com at the top, apart from peopleofprint.store. That's the only one that we haven't linked up properly yet because we're still working on it. And department store version 5 million is coming out. Like, it's just been through so many different changes, and like I say, it's coming out very soon. We've been working so hard on it to make it user friendly, because what actually happened is it was an app that was built into a shop, and then the people who developed the app removed the app. They gave us a month's notice. So we had like 500 sellers, and then we had to migrate all these people over onto a whole new platform. So we've opted for Magento with custom PHP and a custom build. And it's just been the longest, hardest, most stressful thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But it will be worth it. We're all very, very close to launching. It's all automated, so payments are split, so our commission is taken and we don't hold any payments. The shipping costs are easier to enter. The whole site is super stable and great. That's a really cool thing. And then obviously keep an eye out for Grafik Mag when we launch that as a campaign. I'm hoping that we can get that up and running, stable, biannual magazine, and do it proud. Like I really want. What I don't want is the Grafik community to go, you have sabotaged Grafik.
Yeah, you've got big pressure on your shoulders here of like delivering it and everybody to say, yeah, you've done good.
But the thing is, if we've got like some excellent writers and we're featuring the best design studios alongside emerging, and also keeping our eye out for an extreme the diversity and inclusiveness thing is huge for us at the moment. Featuring BIPOC artists, we have a BIPOC grant. People of all disabilities, sexualities, anything, like are totally welcome to submit or take part in anything that we do. And that's a very important thing. But yeah, it's just, hopefully it's just going to be like a bigger and better version of what Grafik was when it comes out. Obviously less issues, but that gives us a safety net, because we've got longer between each issue to design it, make sure it's right, get it all done well. And I suppose my asset to Grafik would be the fact that I've got excellent print connections, as well as the kind of community of designers and illustrators. So like we're going to be making them extremely special, putting like nice spot colors in, different paper stocks, doing all sorts of different things with it. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marcroy. I really enjoyed that, and thank you everyone that tuned in. And yeah, good luck.
thanks for having me, Nikki.
No worries. Have a good one.